Hey there, people. Just doing a follow-up to the last section of the last discussion I did, because I think it's important. And because I really didn't feel that there was a way to just fit this into that subject. But honestly speaking, we need this Nintendo versus Yuzu situation to play out legally. We need it to play out, like completely play out for all to see. And I can tell you why we need it to play out. Because we need a defined barrier. We need a defined barrier as to what you are allowed to do with emulators and not. We need that. We have to have that. Because it'll make things a lot easier going forward, even if it's painful currently for a lot of people. Because if we're going to have situations going forward where people can just crop up an emulator or a device that is highly used for something illegal, even though the object itself isn't illegal, it's always going to be a murky gray area. We need a definitive line to be able to work from. So let me explain that a little bit further. People forget that Nintendo went after the company that created R4 cards that were used to allow people to pirate DS games. Nintendo went after them because their product gave you a way to circumvent purchasing their items legally. That's the big problem. That's actually the big problem with a lot of emulators. It gives you a way to circumvent actually paying for the product, at least when it comes down to stuff that is current market. R4 cards, when they came out and released, DS was a current market product. That causes problems. When you have an emulator that wasn't specifically created by the people who own the rights to the product it is emulating, and said emulator is current market console, that's going to cause problems. It causes legal issues. Remember what I said in the last discussion about PS1 basically phasing out of life? Because PS2 was right around the corner, and PS2 was going to be able to do the same thing PS1 was able to do anyhow. So when I think about it, that could have been an argument Sony could still make. Well, we're technically still selling PS1 hardware because it's embedded in the PS2. Technically an argument they could have made. But also at the same point, PS1 was at the end of its life. There weren't going to be any new PS1 games, especially any exclusives from Sony during that time frame. So they weren't really going to be losing money on the games, again, because you still needed the physical game to be able to use the emulator for bling. So either way, it's no matter how you look at it, Sony as a whole still got their cut of that pie. One way or the other. It wouldn't have mattered what hardware it was played on. But in this case, again, the difference is that you don't need to make the purchase. You can circumvent the purchase. And that was the same thing that happened, or not happened. Same thing that I talked about with the discussion for how the transition from 7th to 8th gen made everything digital only, and I had a bit of a long side tangent in the middle there. I talked about a situation like what is coming up with Yuzu, Nintendo versus Yuzu happening, and what the potential consequences of that situation could be. I literally talked about it not that long ago, and it was within 2 weeks. And Nintendo is using the social media angle. I talked about this. And if they've been doing this, like the little bit of stuff that they put in their lawsuit could potentially go further. We don't know how much information they've actually gathered for their claim. We don't know. But we need this process to play out. We need it to fully play out. I'm still on the side of that Yuzu's, the emulator has to have some code from that Switch in it. Otherwise, you wouldn't be able to just run the game before it comes out. You wouldn't be able to, because you'd still have to code the emulator to be able to interpret the game. And if the emulator, the only argument you could make is a nonsense argument. And this is the argument I'm going to give. Companies know that Yuzu exists and they know people use it. So they are coding their games to be able to run with Yuzu. Does that sound right to anybody? Again, I don't think that emulator is lacking code from the Switch. I could, and again, I will say this, I could be very well wrong. Because they may have figured out some high level of encryption that I didn't understand. That I don't understand. That allowed them to not have Nintendo's proprietary code and encryption libraries in that emulator. Because you have to be able to decrypt their legal encryptions. If you can't decrypt their copyright protected encryptions, you wouldn't be able to run the game. And if the game is not out yet, how are you able to play it before it releases? I can understand on people with their modded Switches, that makes a lot of sense. Hell, maybe not even modded. You can, if you have a game early, you can play it on your Switch. You just put it in, play it. But Yuzu shouldn't be able to do that. I'm still of the mind that Yuzu shouldn't be able to do that, because you'd have to have a copy of the game to test in the emulator. So the game shouldn't play, because the emulator is not the actual machine with the encrypted libraries. It's not supposed to be anyway. It's supposed to be pretending to be the machine, which means it shouldn't have any of their encryption methods in it. That's one of the reasons that Dolphin couldn't go up on Steam, because it had the GameCube encryption libraries in it. So thinking about that, that's potentially a horribly big red flag for them. There's a horribly big red flag. And it's not even about the emulation. When you go through the document, it's not actually about the fact that stuff is being emulated. It's about the fact that the emulator, one, rose in popularity with the 1 million illegal downloads of Tears of the Kingdom. So that's 1 million sales lost right there. And there's an increase in money going to Yuzu during this time period. That's also another problem. Even though causation is not correlation. But you could theoretically make a decent legal argument. And Nintendo has some of the best legal guidance on the face of this planet. I doubt that their lawyers would have pushed for a case they didn't think they could win. That's why I say this is not the Sony versus Bleem lawsuit. If you think it is, it's not the same. And if Nintendo wins this, all of those people who went on social media to talk about how they are pirating their games are next in the crosshairs. This legal case could take 2 to 3 years. At bare minimum, if it plays out. Bare minimum, this could take 2 to 3 years. And in that discussion, about 7th to 8th gen translating from physical to digital, I said within 4 to 5 years, things won't be sweet anymore. If I am not dropping things that people should be thinking about, then I'm wrong. But I legitimately said that less than 2 weeks ago from the point of me recording this. And 2 weeks ago from when it gets uploaded to YouTube. People, I don't say these things just to say them. I don't talk out my rear end unless I tell you I am. I'm telling you this because I'm mentally analyzing these situations piece by piece, and I'm constantly doing it. And this is what I'm seeing, that the majority of people out there are not paying any goddamn attention to. And yes, I am here for the smoke of this situation. I am here for it. If you got an argument for me, let's go through it. Let's talk it out. Let's see if we can figure this crap out. Because trust me, if they win this lawsuit, everybody else who's been pirating is screwed. They are screwed royally with a serrated knife. It's going to get ugly. I'm telling you, it's going to get ugly. It's going to get ugly. And again, I'm doing this because I have a highly analytical mind. I'm processing things constantly. Am I the most intelligent person on the planet? No, but I recognize patterns when they're right in front of my face. And I'm telling you, if they win this case against Yuzu, everyone posting their videos, their screenshots, you become the target. If you can't prove that you legally purchased the item before the dates of those screenshots appearing, you are the target. You will be the target going forward. If Yuzu gets taken down, they cannot be the shield for you anymore, and they will more than likely say, hey, we're not taking the brunt of this. Those people did that. That's on them. Go after them. And more than likely in their legal argument, that's something that they're going to say. Hell, honestly, even if they lose, Nintendo may still go after everyone else. This is going to get much bigger than people realized it would be. And this came from a conversation of me having a disagreement with someone over retailers forcing game console platform holders to sell digital games at the same price as physical. Because I analyzed everything else and I just happened to roll into that point. because there was a thread there that my brain just would not let go. I don't say this stuff because I think I'm the person to listen to, but I do think I'm one of the voices that should be heard. People need to watch what they're doing on social media. They really need to, because if you're endorsing or showing off that you have been doing it, you're in the crosshairs next. I don't know what to tell you, but you are definitely in the crosshairs next. And Nintendo will, if they have to, they will round up a lot of people for a lawsuit. So, just remember that. Just remember, Andre said it. In a few years' time, that wine that you've been drinking is going to turn to spoiled milk. But that's it. I'm not going to drag this on anymore. I've said my thing, made my point, got what I had to put out there out. I'm just telling you, people need to be watchful of what they're doing. Being too ready to talk about everything that you're doing on social media is going to be the downfall of a lot of people. That's it. Thank you guys very much for listening. Keep your eyes and ears up for more stuff from me. And until the next time, enjoy your games, and peace out, everybody.